I am the best of both worlds.
I wasn't born in Australia. I was born in South Africa. I came to Australia when I was about 6 months old. So to me, I basically grew up here. If anything, I didn't see any difference between me being born here and me not being born here. So growing up, I felt as though, yeah, I'm as much Australian as the next person. There's no real difference between you and I. The only difference is that I'm a bit darker.
When I was younger, it was a lot of ups and downs, as I said. So back at home, it was I could feel people were not really close, like they just wanted to avoid their children being close to me and stuff like that. But at school, it was completely opposite. And people were like, oh my gosh, you're an African princess. I used to tell them I'm a princess. And they thought I lived in a castle. And the girl asked my mom, is she a princess? She was like, yes, we have a castle back in Nigeria. And like all the kids just tended to like me.
In my primary school, I was the only African, let alone dark-skinned person. So I feel it was a learning experience for both myself and the people around me. So a lot of the people around me didn't know how to kind of approach me or speak to me. And it was almost as if I was like the guinea pig, like, you know, let me try some things with her and see how she reacts, and I know whether or not to continue it. So I would have one instance where I had my braids pulled out, I was called different names. And growing up, because I'm not like a aggressive person, I didn't really react to it. It was more so I'll go home, and now my mom will come with her own fire, you know, as a Nigerian woman, you know, will now come to the school. And that only made things worse for me, because people were like, oh, you know, she lived up to that whole expectation of the angry black woman.
I wasn't called any names, but you could just kind of feel the tension. You can kind of feel like you're just not fitting in. You can kind of feel like everyone just asking questions like, oh, is she legit? Or, oh, she's in my, I was so upset when someone was like, I'm in your bubble. I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to do distance. And she even showed me the distance. She like put out her hand like, this is my circle, like this is my bubble. And then I'm like, you're seeing other people hug her, and it's like, okay, like, is it just me? But they did eventually warm up to me, and then I started going out to parties a bit more often and stuff like that, because after begging my father. And I remember the kids were okay, and then again, it was once again the parents. And I remember going to this girl's sweet 16th, it was at her house, and I'm going with my present and everything, and then literally the mom's like, what are you doing here? And then the girl comes out, oh, hey, Funky. And she was like, you invited her? She's like, yeah, Mom, of course. And like, literally, the mom was just giving me so much tension throughout the whole day. I just even called my dad to come pick me up early, because it was just really uncomfortable. Because I could hear her whispering to the daughter, like, don't invite her here again, and this. We don't want you socializing with her, and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was hard to deal with, especially being back from a culture where it's just so different and so warm. Everyone's hanging, gisting, and then you hear like you're trying to be friends, but like, you know, the parents don't want you there, or they're just like, you don't fit in. And they've been there since kindergarten to year 12, so I can't really blame them as well, because they've had like 10, 12 years together, and I'm just, you know, coming in.
If you are an African, it doesn't matter how hard you trying to be Australians, you can never be Australian. That's what I'm reading, and that's what I'm getting from what I'm seeing. So it is one of those when I haven't really found the answer to it, because when you look at it, like I've been here for like 15 years, and when I compare myself to some, let's say, not Australian, like non-Australian white community, when they migrate to Australia, I feel like they get more privileged than I am because of their skin color. Although they don't understand the culture or they don't speak language yet, they get that privilege of being called Australian because of that. But I can easily be identified because I'm African. I can easily be identified that I'm not Australian. So I feel like that's another issue that I haven't found an answer to it yet. And to be honest, the life that I live, since I mentioned it, like I lived through 3 different countries, I feel like, well, that's the best that I can get so far. So I'd rather keep myself engaged with whatever I'm doing rather than thinking about this, because I know that I've got nothing behind that I left behind. So yeah, that's why I said that's pretty much the story of my life.
So if someone will ask you, they'll be like, oh, like, where do you come from? Be like, Australia. They'll be like, okay, but where do you really come from? And then it's like, well, what do you mean? Where do I really come from? That, it kind of gets you, it kind of makes you like pull back and be like, oh, okay, so this person, does that mean I'm not Australian as well? Or so you have that thought in your head that's like, pulls you back a bit.
We had to apply for a society at university, so we went to the local Macquarie University branch. I'm not going to say what bank it was. We walked in and we wanted to, access or open the account, and the lady essentially asked me to come back with my passport. I was like, why do I need a passport? She's like, oh, because you're not a citizen, you need to come back with your passport. I was like, how do you know I'm not a citizen? I have a driver's license, would that be okay? He's like, oh, you're a citizen, oh, my apologies. And essentially trying to walk back her statement. But it was the presumption that, okay, oh, look at this guy. It doesn't look like an Australian, so he probably is gonna need his passport, sort of thing. And again, I wouldn't call that racism, I call that ignorance, but at the same time, that's the experience. It's like, what do you mean? You don't wake up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say, ooh, Australian. No, it's not something anyone does. Your identity is already ingrained and built in. So it's something, or when someone almost like points it out to you, you have to reevaluate. Why are you challenging this? Oh, okay, it's probably for this reason. I don't look like the typical Australian. God knows what that looks like. But that's when I would have to almost like, reset. Oh, yeah, you have black skin. You're not necessarily from this country. That's why she's asking this question.